These are the 5 investing habits that I've had to unlearn so that they no longer hold back my financial potential. And hopefully by sharing these tips with you in this video, it can help you from making the same mistakes. The first mistake is the fear of missing out on investing. Whenever I have money in my bank account, I always wanted to make sure that I invested it in the right places so that my money would grow. Instead of leaving my money in a checking account where its value would go down due to inflation, I always wanted to keep it in a place where it could grow reliably. But knowing where to invest was made difficult because on YouTube and TikTok, there's always videos about people telling you where to invest. And there's always a crazy new investment idea that's making lots of returns for people. And because you don't want to miss out, you tend to start investing in those areas too. But the returns are never the same the second time around. And sometimes you even end up losing money. So it's really important to know when to invest and how to invest before you start investing. And this doesn't come if you rush into investing itself. This idea isn't just for me. If you look at Warren Buffett, one of the most prolific investors of our era, him and his companies are always investing in tried and true methods. They don't go into new investing fads early on. And sometimes they skip entire categories of investments altogether. But if you look at the historical rate of returns that Warren Buffett's companies have been making, they've consistently beat the market for well over 50 years now. So if they're just focusing on investing in things they know, and you do the same, you might be able to get the same returns they do. Or at the very least, you'll know what kind of returns to expect. The second biggest habit that I've had to overcome is over-focusing on saving money. While it's always a good idea to have a budget for things and to know where your money is going, over-focusing on trying to save money can be detrimental to your life. And that's never a good thing. Being too stingy with money in the hope that you'll have enough money in the future to do whatever you want means that you're not experiencing life today. And if you don't experience life today in the hopes that you'll experience everything tomorrow, when the time comes, you'll either be too old or some opportunities will just not be available to you. You'll be 50 years old with a lot of money, but no richness in your life and no richness in your experiences for that life to have been worthwhile. Life isn't just about being financially rich, but also being rich with the memories and experiences that we gain throughout that life. So it's okay to sometimes splurge on new things or new experiences because not all returns are monetary. There's value in memory. The third biggest hurdle that I've had to overcome is being too afraid of losing money. And this one ties back into the first one. While the first one was focused on not jumping the gun too early on new investment ideas, this one is about being too afraid to invest in the first place. And both are bad because both come from a place of fear. If you are making decisions from a place of fear, you're thinking of the short term and not the long term. And when you do that, the long-term gains that you can achieve with your finances is limited. And more often than not, you end up making poorer decisions as a whole. The reason that the fear comes along is usually because you don't know enough about the thing that you want to invest in. And that fear is easily overcome by learning more about the investment that you're trying to make. That way, you can come from a place of knowledge rather than fear when deciding whether you want to invest in something. Understanding the risks that an investment has and also understanding the rewards out of that investment is very important whenever you're investing. Too many times I've lost out on opportunities that I had to invest in something because I didn't understand it. And because I didn't understand it, I was afraid of it. So just learning more about it would have made me more able to take advantage of those investment opportunities had I known them back then. The fourth investing habit that held me back is not learning about investing and finance earlier in my life. Even though I took a finance class when I was in high school, that is the only education I had about finance until I was in my early 20s. And that's bad because in those 5-6 years, I've lost out a huge chunk of time in which I could have invested a lot of my money smartly to have it grow and put me in a better financial situation today. Had I learned about investing earlier in my life, I would have been able to take more advantage of the opportunities that came to me over the last 10 years. So I encourage all of you to take the time today to learn about what money actually is, how it's generated, how it's meant to be used, and how to make the best use out of it. The fact that you're on this video shows that you're actually interested in learning more about money and how to use it. So make sure to subscribe to the channel for future content on this topic. And the fifth option, and one that a lot of people don't like to talk about, is not focusing on a career path that is high paying early on. There is value in following your passions for your career. There's also value in understanding how much passion you should follow and how much you should pursue financial success in your career. At the end of the day, if you're following your passions fully and that passion doesn't have a financial reward at the end of it, you'll be too stressed out by your day-to-day financial needs to pursue that passion fully. So it's very important to understand what you're actually passionate about, in what context you can apply that passion to make the most financial gain while also working towards something you like. This is something that's very difficult to achieve. And I've made the mistake of following my passion without really thinking about my finances earlier in my career too. I wanted to go into academia, which is a well-known area to not be financially very profitable, especially earlier on in your career. And while I was in there, I learned that I wasn't passionate enough to take this financial risk for my future and pivoted into the industry. Had I taken this decision a few years earlier, I would be much further along in my career, have earned a significant amount of income for a longer period of time, and been able to set myself up in a more financially secure way earlier in my life. So whenever you're thinking about following your passions versus following something that pays well, there's always a way of mixing the two and figuring out a balance, a career path that you would enjoy and one that also pays well. So this is something that you should take the time to reflect on if you are thinking about your career and your future prospects right now. And as a bonus, tip number 6 is to always be learning from others. And I want to learn from you. So put your poor money habits that you've learned to overcome in the comments and we can talk about it there. Check out this video for more on money and I'll see you guys in the next one.